Hello and welcome to the Dream Receiver Show. I have a very special guest today, Kayla Vedder. Kayla Vedder is an accelerated freedom leader, author and speaker. She is committed to ending suffering, anxiety, stress, illness, and more. She serves the world as a bridge to connect people to their higher self. Through Kayla, one releases energetic entanglements, entities, and limiting beliefs to achieve true freedom. And then she states that this is from the universe, which I'm excited to learn all about what this is all about and her book that she has out. So please, warm welcome to Kayla Vedder. So excited and honored to have you here with me today.
Oh my gosh, I was so super excited when you connected with me and said, let's do this. And such an honor to be here, and just really thrilled to be on your show and sharing. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Is just sharing and assisting as many people as possible. So
yes,
yeah.
My vision is to inspire 1 million people to live an abundant, trusted, well-balanced life. And
Perfect.
I can't do that all on my own. I need energetic people like yourself to be doing this with. And I read about your book and saw your website after meeting you at the eWomen's Club, and I also remembered that the two of us had both done direct sales back in the day.
We did. We were part of a really up and coming trendy business, and it was awesome. And I do remember that we were in different parts of the world, but certain events definitely brought us together to rub elbows, and it was an amazing time. So
We were just talking about the direct sales business.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we were both in Party Light, and we had, I saw that you were also with Tracy and Cheryl and all of that. But I found that I had learned a lot from starting out that way.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be doing any type of work, but you've chosen energy work. How did that all come about? What came about?
Well, it's interesting because I actually do talk about any type of home business, or I guess you call it direct sales marketing business, and I talk about that in my book, about how it's such an amazing thing to get involved in, because majority of those businesses are really about, sharing with women or men, but mostly it's women, how to really stand in all of who they are and how to get that confidence. And it's not about the products, it's not about any of that, it's about the people. And then, I do talk about that because it was a big part of my life, as I know it was a big part of your life as well. And, it allowed us to, just see the world in a different way, and to really gain that confidence that we needed. And so for me, it wasn't that I chose to do this. The universe really just pushed me to stand more in who I am. I talk about it in my book about how, my earliest memory of, experiencing at the time what I thought was normal, soon learned it wasn't. 3 years old was my earliest memory of seeing dead people in my room. And I told my parents, and I remember this. And, at that age, you don't have a lot of things to share. What do these things look like? It was the question they gave me. Well, what do I have to say? Well, it looks like this or it looks like that. So I started to describe cartoon characters. And so then I wasn't allowed to watch cartoons anymore. And so that was the beginning. And, you slowly learn to shut things off. And I think we all have gifts and abilities, and they're not all going to be the same, and we're not all going to be at the same place. We're not, so we're really here assisting one another. And the universe just really pushed me to share it with the world, and share it with more than just my friends and family. So
right.
Yeah.
And so you wrote this book, Naked and Awake, and I've been just wanting to ask you, how did you come up with this name of Naked and Awake?
Well, it's interesting. I never considered myself to be a writer. It wasn't anything that was on my bucket list of things to do. It was really, I was guided to do this. I received the name of the book before I even wrote the book. And like I said, it was just a lot of really, I don't believe in coincidences, but it was a lot of really perfectly timed introductions and meeting of people, and just like, you know, I met my editor, and she's also my book writing coach. I met her on a retreat. She ended up sitting beside me the last day. I hadn't spent any time with her. I got home and I was actually asked to participate in another book that I've also participated in. And that was the beginning of the universe saying, okay, this is what you're going to be doing. And so this book, Naked and Awake, it's called Naked and Awake, Break the Rules, Lose Control, and Reclaim Your Life. So it's really about standing in all of who you are. And you know how people get this feeling like there's something more. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to get to it, and I've tried. This book is going to get you there. It's got so many juicy, delicious freedom tips in it that, you know, some of the people I've talked to, they'll just open it up and say, okay, so that's what I'm going to do today. And they'll just grab the freedom tip from that page. Or some other friends of mine, they'll see a number over and over, and so then they'll look up that number freedom tip, and then they'll use that for whatever it is. So it's not a book where you have to read it cover to cover, but you can, absolutely. And it just talks about some of my experiences, but it's definitely how you can relate to it with your own experiences, and take the tools that I've used to assist myself, to assist you.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. and just the divine timing that of meeting your editor, your book coach, and on the back here too, it says serving up opportunities for the readers. And so I'm just now going to see what kind of opportunity on the page I'm going to see. And what do I get? Oh, wow. Oprah Winfrey. Isn't that nice? So I believe that every single event in life happens in an opportunity to choose love or fear. Isn't that interesting? Because my saying is love and trust, love and trust.
Yeah.
And whether it's fear and doubt or love and trust. So that this is chapter 9, and it says, you want to know something else that's really just wild? Is before I opened this page, I thought, what does Oprah do?
You can't make this stuff up. It happens.
Open it up to, I believe that every single event. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And then it's chapter 9, it says, love, fear, and the power of prayer. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I could. I think what I'm going to do is leave it up to you guys to get the book, because there's a really juicy story in there about my experience. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to in any given situation is we always get to choose love or fear. And if we're in fear, that's our ego trying to keep us safe. We're never going to get rid of our ego. It's always going to be there. But we can start to recognize it, and we can start to listen to it less and less. And you can just tune in at any time. Am I coming from a place of love or fear? If you're coming from love, everything's perfect.
And how do you differentiate between confidence and ego? What would you say if you were to define those two?
I don't think they're anything alike, to be quite honest. I think ego is, your ego will sometimes try and talk you out of doing things. Like, you invited me here tonight, and I'm also living my life in flow. So it presented, is it a yes or no? Well, if it all comes together, then it's a yes. If I move energy on it and it doesn't come together, then it's not in the highest at this time. Doesn't mean it never will be. But I could also sit there and go into judgment. I could go into all these other things that come from, fear, right? So I don't know that ego and confidence really have anything to do with one another, because your ego isn't necessarily, it can be quite arrogant. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that. So
yeah, do you find sometimes that confidence, it's pretty difficult to have if you're in fear and doubt.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, if you're lacking confidence, chances are you're either buying into all the BS that somebody's feeding you or saying about you, or you're kind of caught in that hamster wheel of trying to be whatever it is you think everybody wants you to be. And I don't know about you, but I've definitely done that in my life. I've, put aside my gifts, tried to ignore them, tried to push them aside, tried not to listen, tried not to do what I'm here to do. And yeah, that's trying to be somebody I'm not.
Yes.
So,
and when we try to do, I found that when I was trying to do and be someone I wasn't, that I would actually start to have uneasiness, and flow would not be working.
You got to work hard.
Well.
You got to work really hard for everything when you're in this space of trying to be whatever it is you think that somebody wants you to be. It's hard. It's a struggle. When you start to really embrace who you are, and that means embracing all your perceptive imperfections, because those are really beautiful things. We were talking about that earlier about, let's just relax, let's have a conversation, because it can be a bit intimidating, being in front of the lights and the cameras and there's people moving around, but it's like, if you just relax into the knowing, like, we're all human, it's okay. We all mess up, we all make mistakes, we all, we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be what somebody else wants us to be. And I think a lot of times people get into, relationships, and they want that relationship to work so badly that they'll be whatever it is they think they need to be to make that happen. And then down the road it doesn't work out because well, you're not who I married.
Yes.
Because you can only try and be somebody else for so long. Eventually you are going to be asked to step up and stand in more of who you are. Yeah,
it's almost like asking the river to flow that way. But you can't just pick that river up and force it to go.
So what you're doing is you're actually going against the grain of who you are, and that's never going to work.
Yeah, so how do you drop the oars and head that way?
That's the beauty of this book. It actually gives you so many tools to assist you, because it can be overwhelming. It can be difficult to figure out what is my next step. The other thing that when I work with clients, one of the things that I'm able to do very easily is see, and I talked about that you talked about that in the introduction, is the entanglements. So if you think about, when I say that, what I'm talking about is, when we're born, every person is born into whatever family. They have two biological parents. Whether or not they stay with those parents, it doesn't matter. Whatever's going on for those parents when that child is being born into the world, even if they're being put up for adoption, say, and the mom maybe knows that and she's worried and concerned, and the father's worried and concerned, maybe they're young, maybe there's health issues, maybe they're not, maybe they're being born into a beautiful, wonderful, loving family. Who knows? There's so many different scenarios, so many different situations. But when that person is born, all of that energy from those two parents is now connected to that child. Regardless of what's going to happen next, that energy is connected. And then you go back even farther, and this person's parents and this person's parents, their energy is connected to them, which is now connected to them. So it goes back lineages. So I'm able to see into those lifetimes where maybe you have a limiting belief, or and when I say a limiting belief, like, it can be anything. There's so many different scenarios from many different lifetimes that can be affecting you here and now. And so I get to see those and work with the clients to really dissolve and disintegrate those. I see them as like twine. And we can go down some of those and we'll release them, and the clients will feel that and feel that relief and be able to really move forward closer and farther and start to remember their own amazingness. I mean, that's really what it's about. It's like, none of that matters. That's not serving you in this lifetime. And this is one of the most amazing times. I mean, we can all be who we are without, being I don't know, burned at the stake. You know, like it really is a time of shift and change, and the energy is really speeding up now. So things are happening much faster than they ever have. And we're all really being called to really stand up and stand in who we are, and not just stand in who we are, but assist others in getting there. And the only way you can do that is by looking after you. So people will say, well, I want to help this person, I want to help this person. You got to help you. It has a ripple effect. It's like throwing a rock into a pond. It's all going to just ripple out. It's going to affect all those people in your life. You got to look after you. That's the first thing.
Right. So the way that you untangle the entanglement is you go into their past.
I don't really go
that
into their past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do get shown different past lives. I kind of look at it this way, that I'm more of my gift is to be of assistance and to be of service. And so I have a lot of angelic beings that will come through and assist me. And when I say I'm bridging the gap between your higher levels and my higher levels, that's really what's happening, is though your higher levels are beyond the density of this 3D world. They are the highest aspect of who you are, not in this physical body, but as a being. And so with that, having that connection, being able to see, okay, well, this, happened with this person in this lifetime, and that's still happening here. Like, it's hard to explain quickly, but there's a lot of assistance. So I consider myself to be a bit of a witness. I get to witness what's going on, and therefore it is.
Right. So because you were saying how the ripple effects happens from the energy from the parents, from other parts of the family. Yeah, I've definitely seen that. But do you think that has anything to do with just DNA, or?
Do I think?
Yeah. Do you feel that way, or
no?
Do you, yeah.
I really don't. I think that's, again, another limiting belief. We have bazillions of them, and a lot of them have been created from a place of being, wanting to keep everybody safe. Even some of these things I see connected to people, it's their family has always just really wanted the best for them, but at the time they had those beliefs, those wishes, those dreams. Things have changed since then, so they may not be of the highest at this time, what might have been at the highest at that time, if that makes sense. And genetics, that's a really long conversation.
Yes.
But I will say that, I just did a talk on my Facebook page. I have this private group. It's called Juicy Conversations. And if anybody wants to join, you just send me a message and I'll get you in there. And it's where you can ask any questions, and we all come together and everybody shares their experiences. There's nowhere for gurus in there. It's all just everybody sharing, what they have to share and what they know about that. One of the questions was, how does disease, how does emotion and, beliefs and things affect us and our physical body with disease? And somebody had mentioned, arthritis is one of those things that is about forgiveness. And something I talk about in the book is, and this will maybe rock some worlds, but if we don't have any judgment about anything, and we trust and know that everything is absolutely perfect, exactly how it should be, what is there to forgive? So if everything's happening for you and not to you, what is there to forgive?
Almost like taking the learning. Also, do you find that taking the learning from what has happened as a positive as well?
Like if something perceptively seems like it's not good.
it's like it's happened for a reason, and there's a learning to help you to move forward. Do you find that it's somewhat?
I don't know that we have to learn anything. I think that's our mind and our ego trying to wrap around stuff.
Yes.
I think what we have to, well, we don't have to, but I think what's freeing to me is being able to trust 150% in the universe, knowing that the universe has my back, and that even if it seems perceptively bad at the time, there's something really great about it that I might not be getting in that moment, but it'll come, and I'll get it. And it's just trusting that I am, being guided, and I am being looked after. Because sometimes our egos get in the way, and we get hit with like a cosmic 2x4. It's like, and that's a big redirect, but it can also be a perceptive bad thing, right? Like in our mind, we're like, well, that wasn't very good, or blah, 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 blah. You start judging it and everything else. But if you just step back for just a moment, you might see that you're actually being directed, and you were actually being directed and guided before you got hit with the 2x4. But you weren't listening. You weren't paying attention.
You know, it's really funny that you say that, because my friend Michael and I were driving here today, and I always find parking. Like, I always just know energetically that the right person just pulls out at the right spot at the right time, and there's no doubt in my mind, because it happens all the time. And I was just in this law of attraction of the energy, and I missed the spot here, and then I went around, and Michael saw the one over here. We missed that one. Someone pulled out right in front of me and went in, and I went, this is so unusual. And then we came back up, and the person sitting in their car that was going to leave just sat there. And then she decided to get out of the car, go to the garbage can, come back again, sit there. I'm going, okay, I think I was doing an ego thing for my spot. So I said that to Michael just today coming here. I said, oh, you know what I did? I think it was I wasn't just going, oh, love and trust, my spot will just be there, and going from a place of love. I was just like, no, it always happens for me.
Well, see, you had an expectation. and I talk about that in there. Expectations are absolute dream crushers. If you have an expectation around anything, it's going to be crushed. So, and that is ego, right? So yes. Even the expectation that you're meant to park in a spot close to the building, maybe you're meant to park over there, and that's where you're being guided to. Maybe you're going to run into a person who's going to really get some love and joy from just bumping into you, or I don't know, it could be anything, right? It could be anything.
Yes.
But that's where you're supposed to be. So it's like traffic jams, prime example. People get all upset and get all angry and stuff, and it's like, for whatever reason, we're emanating energy all the time. We're like walking radio stations. And if our frequency is a little different, and maybe we're being called to be somewhere to assist without even doing anything, just by simply being there, so be it.
Yes. And one last question. How can people get a hold of your book?
Oh, absolutely. You can get the book through Amazon. It's also at Indigo on Broadway in Granville. It's at Utopia in North Vancouver. Any bookstore can get it in. It's traditionally published book. And actually, there's a little funny story about that. Do we have time for that? Do we have time for that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is a funny thing. As I'm writing this book, and I'm doing this massive brain dump, and then my editor's like, I've never seen anything like this. She's done a lot of editing. And she's like, I've never seen anything like this. I'm not quite sure how we're going to pull this together. I said, oh, we'll figure it out. So we finished doing all that. And before the book was even completed, I already had a traditional publisher interested in the book. Now, I'm not a writer. I don't claim to be a writer. I don't, I was really guided to write this book. And there's some channeled information in there too. So it's a really delicious book. And I had this publisher, and I was like, oh, this feels really good. It presented. Let's just go with the flow. And so I did. And then after that, people were coming up to me and saying, you got traditionally published already? And I was like, yeah. But I didn't realize that, because it's not my business, I'd never done this before, that apparently that's a big deal. So I know that this book is like a golden nugget for everyone and anyone. They will get something out of this book. So absolutely, check it out. You can get it on Amazon if you have your Amazon account. You can order it online. But I also am going to be doing some book signings. So if you want to come out and meet me, I would love, love, love to meet you. So come on down, and you can find out more on my Facebook page. I have events posted on there. You can also join my Juicy Conversations, which I would love to hear from you. If you have some questions or something that's gone on or something that's happened, I would love to, participate with you in that. So,
because I really did want to talk to you a little bit about food as well, because I'd seen that, but I definitely want to have you back on our show.
Oh, I would love to.
Amazing.
Absolutely love to.
Amazing.
Yeah, I would
Thank
love
you
to.
so much, Kayla, for coming.
Thank you.
And that's Kaayla, Vedder.
Yeah, so you can find the strange spelling, KaylaVedder.com, or you can just go to freedom21.ca. It's way easier. It'll take you to the same place. Thank you so much, beautiful.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for joining our show. Be sure to subscribe and find Kayla's book, as it's a golden nugget, as she would say too. So looking forward to doing a lot more work with you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.